Hello guys, and welcome to Stubborn Optimist Rants. In this rant, I want to talk about how many leading climate scientists are saying that we're heading towards 4 degrees of warming by the end of this century. Now, that's pretty scary stuff. So 4 degrees, I'll share some articles highlighting this and proving this at the end of the video. But 4 degrees of warming means most of the planet will be uninhabitable. Most of the food producing regions in the world will be incapable of producing food. Most coastal cities will be flooded, and most of the animal life on this planet will become extinct. It will devastate the entire planet, making a global society virtually impossible, and likely result in just the richest people of the population building a huge fortress and with huge walls that they can hide behind while the rest of the earth dies around them. So this isn't really mentioned too much in regards of the media. However, it's the most alarming situation ever to face our species. Generally, people are seen to want to provide a better world than what they left for their children and their grandchildren and their grandchildren's children. But there seems to be many people actively trying to destroy the planet for future generations. People using all kind of drugs and all sorts of means of escapism to just bury their head in the sand. While I think as a society we need to cultivate a different mentality. So many church cathedrals takes over 100 years to build, which means a lot of the builders who started working on it would die before they saw the finished building, before they saw the finished church. They built it for future generations to enjoy, even though they themselves would not enjoy the spoils of it. This is the kind of mentality that we need far more in our society now. We need a willingness to sacrifice for future generations. We need a willingness to build something better than what we found it. Campground rules. And the alternative is we continue to let the world degrade. We continue to pump huge amounts of carbon into the atmosphere. We continue to allow the fossil fuel companies to mislead us and make a lot of excuses for why they need to keep pulling oil out of the ground, damaging the planet, and we continue to allow the devastating impacts that we're already facing as a planet, wildfires, earthquakes, flooding, to get worse and worse and worse, devastate more and more communities. And the sad but undebatable truth is that when things get worse, which they are projected to, so we're at 1.3 degrees of warming now, close when we get over 2 degrees of warming, when we get 2.5, 3 degrees, the poorest communities on the planet, the people who don't have the resources to create infrastructure, to create any kind of meaningful resistance to the worsening climate, the poorest among us, the people who have emitted the least amount of carbon, who have done the least amount of damage to the planet, will face the biggest consequences. And the people who have done the most to damage our planet and destroy the environment for future generations are least likely to face consequences, because they have their biospheres, their bunkers, their rockets to leave the planet. The richest among us will most likely be the ones that will survive. The ones who have mainly caused the pollution through constantly going around on their private jet. Private jets make up 70% of the airline industry. You have celebrities that take various trips in like a single day on their private jet, emitting in one day more than an average person will emit in their lifetime. And those people are the least likely to face consequences like the rest of us. They'll be the ones behind the huge wall of the fortress while the rest of the world dies around them. Unless most of the population come together and decide, oh, we actually want somewhat of a habitable planet for our kids, their grandkids, instead of just looking to escapism or looking to pretend the problem isn't there, as the very privileged bubble that a lot of people in Western countries live in continues to shrink and eventually pop when extreme weather events become much more common. The areas that produce food are largely kind of destroyed or made very difficult to produce food. When a lot of coastal cities start falling into the ocean, eventually there will be some kind of a crisis point when the damage becomes too undeniable and people in Western privileged countries are not able to maintain a bubble and just be, half of this country is sank into the ocean, the wildfires have destroyed most of this country, but I wonder what's happening on Love Island next week, or I've just got to focus on my job. As long as I just keep going to work, everything's fine. There needs to come a point where we cultivate a mentality exactly the same as church cathedral builders, because without that we're dooming the planet, at least for the medium term, to be a largely uninhabitable place where most animals have died off. It's mainly just the rich in fortresses and bunkers and whoever's left the planet on rocket ships, and we've allowed the death and destruction of the vast amount of our population purely to serve the interests of a very privileged small amount of people who are likely to survive in the worst conditions while the rest of us die and our houses and livelihoods are destroyed. It doesn't make sense why enough people aren't standing up to this inevitable future reality where many climate scientists are projecting that we're heading very clearly. And I will link the various articles showing this. This has been Stubborn Optimist Rants. All of the themes covered in these rants are covered in my solo comedy show, Stubborn Optimist. I promise, even with the themes, it is still a very funny as well as a clearly provocative show. Hopefully I'll see you in the audience. And this has been Stubborn Optimist Rants.